What if I told you that those potatoes you ate for dinner last night were a year old? What most people don't know is that supermarkets store potatoes for up to a year before they even hit the shelves. But don't worry, I'm not just here to give you bad news. Stick around and I'll reveal to you why you might never look at store-bought spuds the same way again. And I'll give you a far better way to enjoy them. I'm Tony O'Neill and this is Simplified Gardening. Poor quality, taste and texture are just some of the reasons why people are having issues with supermarket potatoes. Surely there's a better way. But first I'd like to share a story with you. My son and I are both celiac, which means we tend to rely on potatoes quite a lot in our diet. We even break them down into potato starch, which forms a basis for flour. For the last 13 years, I have grown all the potatoes that my family has eaten, except for last year. Last year on this very channel, I ran an experiment on poor quality composts that are being commercially made, and that had a massive impact on my potato yields last year. And for the first time in 13 years, I had to buy potatoes from the supermarket. I was completely shocked at the quality of these potatoes against my homegrown potatoes, and I wasn't ready for this quality when potatoes that were just taken home, sprouted within a few days, turned soft. And when I cut them open, they were black inside. This really isn't what I call quality. This year I set out to ensure I didn't have a bad result, and although I haven't harvested all my potatoes yet, signs are looking good. You see, I'm in control on how I grow them, and I know that I've given them quality conditions. And the best thing is, they've not been subjected to near freezing conditions. There are 5 other reasons why I won't buy potatoes again, and the first of those reasons is flavour. You see, you can't beat the flavour from homegrown potatoes because they are raised in quality soil. You've given them all this organic stuff, the feed and everything else, and you've nurtured them through to harvest time. When the counterparts from the stores, well, they've been grown in chemicals and they've had preservatives added to them after harvest to stop them sprouting and all sorts of things. So the flavour is just absolutely worlds apart. The second of those reasons is variety. You see, when supermarkets are stocking potatoes, they stick to a selected few varieties because they are looking for shelf life and they're also looking for things that are popular. But when you grow your own potatoes at home, you have a whole world of variety that are available to you because we don't need to be able to store them for a whole year by freezing them and everything else. We only need to harvest and eat, so we can take on lots of different varieties. And the great thing about homegrown is there is endless varieties. Things from like the big red Rudolph that I grow all the way through to the small Charlotte. But there are hundreds and hundreds of varieties, and growing at home means that you can grow them too. The third reason is nutrition, because when you grow your potatoes at home, you're growing them organically, you're controlling the quality of the soil, what feed you give them, and you're nurturing them so that they have the best possible sources of nutrition. And that comes through into the tubers that you can eat at home. So nutrition's really important. When you start to bring things down to almost freezing temperatures, that nutrition is lost. And they say that the nutrition in our food, to get the same amount, you would need to eat about 13 bowls for the same bowl of potatoes now. So it's a huge loss since like the 50s. And that's down to soil depletion and things like that, where they're growing the same crops over and over again. At home, we can control it. Here, I'm growing some kales and what have you, but next year I might be growing my potatoes in this area. As a lot of you know, I grow them in containers. And the fourth reason is freshness. Now, when you grow your own potatoes at home, well, you can literally come here and harvest them right there and then, and they can be on your plate within hours. Commercially, well, as we've already discussed, those potatoes are nearly to freezing temperatures for over a year, sometimes up to a year, but it's a long period before they actually hit the shelves, and then you're buying them, put them on. So the one thing that homegrown has over commercial is that sort of quickness where you can pull them from the garden, put them onto your plate and know they're fresh, crisp, they're going to be great texture, and even better, the flavour is there. And number 5 is costs. Now, it used to be that you could go out and buy a sack of potatoes for around about £6 or $9, and a few years, maybe 10 years ago, they were even cheaper than that. But now I've been looking at the prices, and a sack of 25 kilograms of potatoes are fetching anything from around £20 to £35. It's absolutely crazy. And when you go into supermarkets and they break them down into 1 and 2 kilogram packets or 2 and 4 pound packets, their price is even higher. So the cost of potatoes have gone really expensive. Whereas when you grow them at home, I'm going to harvest loads of potatoes here that I can store properly so that they don't lose the texture, quality and everything else. But it's only cost me a few pounds for the seed potatoes. And if you're smart, you will keep your own seed potatoes back so that it's not costing you anything. Now, last year I put up this video here, which was where I showed you how to grow 235 pound of potatoes in 200 square feet without water. Now, that video's had 2 million views, so maybe you want to go and have a look at that, because I think this video will show you that you don't need a lot of space in order to grow potatoes. Now, as you can see, my spuds are pretty much ready to come out. I've pulled out a lot of them already, and you've seen some of the white potatoes I've pulled out in the thumbnail, but also I have red potatoes that I'm harvesting at the moment, and you've seen throughout the video. But this little area here is 200 square feet, but I grow all of my potatoes in these 30 litre or 8 gallon potato buckets or containers. They're fantastic, they're nice and strong. I've been using the same ones for 13 years, and they make life much easier because I can literally just stick them under this trellis, put a watering system on the top, and it's controlled in such a small area, and that is why you can grow so many potatoes in such a small space. What I will say is I buy these from Oakland Gardens. Now, Oakland Gardens have a deal on at the moment. It's an end of season sale where they are giving a massive discount on these. So I'll place a link for that below, and you'll need code SIMPLIFY30 for that. Now, the great thing, like I said, about that is you can grow so many potatoes in a small area. This year we're on target of actually breaking that 235 pound and putting out maybe 300 or 400 pound of potatoes out of this area. It's looking really good at the moment. The link for Oakland Gardens, like I said, will be below, but this isn't a sponsored video. I'm just telling you about a deal that they have on, and the fact I'm telling you about it is because I use them all the time. I absolutely love these things, and if you've been around my channel for any time, you'll know I have hundreds of videos on potatoes growing in these containers, so go and check them out. So we're gonna wrap this up, but I thought I'd come back to this section here, which was what I set up for the thumbnail, just to show you some of the sizes of the potatoes I am harvesting out of these pots. And here are some of the red ones as well. I mean, we have some huge quality potatoes here, all out of these containers. And so I just wanted to tell you that the next time that you're going to the supermarket and pick up a bag of potatoes, just think about what we've sort of spoken about here today, because you know what, you can't beat the freshness, the quality, the size. And we get small potatoes too, don't get me wrong, but I mean, look at what it gets you here. The Oakland Gardens bucket growing method, which is something I've been pushing for nearly 13 years on YouTube. The results speak for themselves, guys. Look at it. So what I will say to you is don't be afraid to grow at home. Stop all the chemical and the near freezing temperatures from store-bought potatoes and get that freshness, crispness and quality back into your diet with homegrown potatoes. So I have the rest of that area to harvest now, and I'm getting a really good harvest this year. Like I said, I'm not prepared to risk my harvest again by doing compost trials. But I just want to impress on you guys that the quality that you get in store-bought potatoes over homegrown potatoes, they just can't even be compared. It's just so much better. Now, if you want to see just how many potatoes you can get out of just a small 200 square foot place, then this is the next video that you should watch. I'm Tony O'Neill and this is Simplified Gardening. Remember folks, you reap what you sow, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.